So when you're running at speed is the most effective way to find these fish, bar none. We're doing 28 miles an hour, and these fish are going to show up as little kind of BBs or little slivers. That's all you're going to get. The slower you go, the more of a fee it's going to be. But down here you can see these fish. It's not only going to tell me where they're at in the column, but where to fish, because we're eliminating just a ton of water. In order to get this good picture, you got to make sure your transducers in the right place, and you have the right power or sensitivity setting. Those are two of the most important parts of this. In theory, you know, when you're doing this, you want to drive as fast as you can while still having efficiency. And that's really going to depend on your boat and your transducer setup. For me, that's 25, 30 miles an hour, maybe low 30s. You can do it faster, but that you're going to start losing efficiency and seeing what's going on. The problem is you go much slower than, let's say, 22, 23. Those fish get a little more of a chance to get out of the way, and you're not truly seeing where in the column. Even if you mark them, they're skedaddling in the water column from where they're actually at. So the faster I go, the more of a true reference I get where they're actually at in the water column. So when we start fishing, you'll see a lot of these marks are down deeper, and we're catching fish higher, and we're marking them higher when we're running, but they're simply just spooking with the boats going over them at a slower speed. You know, these cold water fish move more than people think. We haven't found them. We marked little pods, but way too small to fish if they're even walleyes, and they weren't big marks. We're kind of looking for that hero shot. And just starting to get into a few marks up here as the water gets a little dirtier. But not enough to set up on. This time of year, you want to set up on a bunch of fish. You don't want to set up on a thin or an empty stream. We ran through a lot of water, probably about 5 miles with nothing. We got a lot of marks here, almost too many. Like we were talking about before, you've heard me say this 100 times. There's a lot of stuff on the bottom, and we don't know what those are. But we've got a little bit of marks off the bottom, so that makes me much more comfortable, like I would set up on it. But when you get really, really solid like that, that's probably some gizzard shad, whitefish, catfish, something that's not a walleye. But we've got this high stuff up here, and so I would still set up on that. But if you see just this down here, it's probably not what you want to set up on. You can see these fish are all those little hooks because we were going slower. And then when we slow down, we're doing 7 miles an hour, you're going to start to see they're actually hooks again, just like you see when you slow down. And the more you slow down, the more of a flat line or arch that they become. You can see the difference. We got less disturbance, and now you see all these little marks here. We are loaded up. Loaded! Here's what we got. We're in Lake Erie again. We're doing some open water ice fishing with Country Steve. His wife paid me in lava cake this time to take him out. Again? Out of the house. The lava cake that has ice cream and it's warmed up, has the hot fudge in the center. And we are a lot deeper water here. We're out and we're kind of gambling because we're looking for that fish. We got enough fish for the freezer. And so we're a lot deeper water. We're fishing around more shad, and some of those fish that are on the shad are generally the bigger ones. They're eating a lot bigger bait fish. And so we're going to do a little bit of slow trolling with some crankbaits. Country Steve's going to give us obviously some big insight into just life in general. Wisdom.
Get out of jail free cards what Country Steve got.
You got to get out of jail card?
Yeah.
According to who?
Court system.
Woo!
According to the wife system.
That could be the same thing. Yeah, that could be the same. We've got these are walleyes. So remember we said before, those shad all kind of skedaddled from the boat. So we still got a good amount of marks, but you can see they're a lot thinner than when we were running because those fish spook out from the boat. But unlike the show we did with Country Steve before, you can see how much bigger the arches are. You're looking for the thickness right here in the center, and that's going to tell us, like, those right there are giants. That's a picture taker. That's the one Country Steve wants to show his mom right there. We were over here just
throwing a Hail Mary pass. Your other one.
We're over here just doing a little tutorial on electronics with Country Steve. The artist currently known as Country because I referred to him as Steve earlier and almost got my knuckles chewed off.
Well, that's just in the ride. You know, it's got to keep reminding you. It's just not Steve anymore.
Okay, Prince.
Pretty soon we'll be drawing him a symbol.
Oh, God.
So first fish.
First fish. We made a little bit of a Hail Mary deal.
A little bit of a beanbag run.
Yeah, we definitely drove a lot farther than we had to. But we're kind of just swinging for it. There's an awful lot of those fish out here that are in that low to mid 20s. But we're looking for a donkey, and they're far and few between. They're hard to find. So one of the best things I know to do is to go after where the bigger bait fish are at, because that's what those chunkies like to eat. It's like Steve, you can't give him a Snickers bar or a king size Snickers bar, even now, for me. You want the king.
Right.
Your stomach may not want it, but we want it. Same thing with these.
If I've had one
boat
comment,
traffic.
I've had 100 online, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, saying, hey, my screen doesn't read like yours. And in order to get that picture, you have to have your transducer in the right spot. For me, that I know exactly where I want it because I've had the same style boat for a number of years. But you want to avoid things like the chines, drains, the rotation of the prop. All of these things that are going to create air bubbles are going to cause that dirty picture, and why it's not going to look like so many people say the special prototype that I have. Because it's just stock. I'm doing nothing fancy even with the settings. But you have to have that transducer just in the right spot. We've got a bunch of videos out there showing actually installation, the angle and the height also. And just incremental changes will make a huge difference in that picture that you're going to get. But the overall location is without a doubt the most important.
And while I like that little Humminbird skimmer, just the simple old-fashioned one down on the bottom near my drain plug on my Ranger, I'm using that bigger Mega side imaging, which is a much bigger transducer. And I actually have that a lot higher and angled slightly higher up too, so that the slow speeds that I'm using it, let's say 2 to 5 miles an hour, the boat's going to be slightly angled up. And so that transducer being angled up is actually going to be level while it's in the water and planing. So that one's actually going to be completely out of the water, so I don't have to worry about hitting anything and damaging it while I'm driving down the lake. So one higher that I'm going to use at slow speeds, and then the lower one that's going to be used for high speed market.
The net here, we've got a big Beckman 9-foot handle on this sucker.
Yeah, a little nicer.
But I've got this Lakewood net protector, which is really nice because it keeps the boat from getting all chewed up. I don't care if you got an aluminum one or a glass one like I've got. When you start banging around like I just did. But the yoke up here has a lot of rough edges and it gets really, really naughty. It's kind of like Steve on probation, naughty and rough.
No.
I didn't think he was one. I usually tell my guide clients, that thing was hooked so good, Country Steve could have got it in. So I'm free spooling this one back. So this was our outside that Steve's reeling in. The next one out has a long lead, just straight up monofilament, no weights or anything. And I'm floating that all the way back because you can kind of picture this. If you get on it really fast and free spool it, that lure is going to be on the surface. And so we're going to get it out of the way. And the advantage is by the time he's getting close with that, I'm going to have this rod already fishing again. And there's just one more rod that I can get out and get rolling. Because really the biggest thing when you get on these small pods is just getting lines in the water. When you're catching them, is getting back, and that's where stuff like the birch trees here are really helpful because you can spread those lines out. You need a lot of extra rod holders when doing this. Do you have any wise words for a camera dude?
Yeah.
You're kind of giving him a stare down, so I was like,
No wise words.
I was just thinking of that stare down that Big Head gave the camera that one time. Oh yeah. So one thing I have noticed too is, I would like to say it's my side, because we've caught a few more on the driver's side, but really,
whatever side catches the fish is always your side.
Exactly.
I've noticed
Kyle,
that.
pay attention.
normally that's true, but I was just about to put a caveat in there. That is the case, but it's been the slow side. So even when we've done the little turns, you know, it's been when we kind of slowed up, and that's just causing those flat lines or lines with no weights on them to stall, and it's causing those deep lines to get a little deeper. We've actually even touched bottom a couple times on a hard turn. Look at that little chunky monkey.
Ooh, that's an old Country Steve fish.
Yeah, that's Country Steve back in the day.
Whoa, nice.
Thing's been doing a little
snacking.
Yeah, there's a lot of gizzard shad that went to heaven after this thing went by.
Dude, I really do like this knot. Sorry.
So, you know, here's a good representation of what we kind of talked about. And I kind of talked Steve out of going even higher. Our higher lines have been catching the fish even though everything we're marking is down. So again, part of that's probably just the more active fish are higher. Part of that is a lot of those fish down low aren't walleyes. They're other species. They're gizzard shad, you know, white fish. I caught channel cats doing this, jig fishing on them. Well, we're hog hunting.
Yeah, there's a hog.
I didn't say we're hog catching. We're just hunting. Steve's eating my goose sausage.
I don't think there's anything here anymore.
Keep reeling.
Okay.
Guide client. No? You sure there's nothing? Just rod holders on it. $2021 probation. Could it happen?
Reinstated.
I don't remember who it was, but one of the guys on YouTube, and I really like whoever it was like, man, that Country Steve guy, he sure does lose a lot of fish.
No, I believe the comment was these guys lose a lot of fish.
Oh yeah, and then I believe I told him,
Yeah.
these guys. I mean, he's not here for his looks anyhow, but I mean, you know, there's other valuable things. It's good camaraderie. You know, we didn't set out today to catch, you know,
Numbers.
We're here for digging, which is a tall order. You know, we're making a move. We kind of knew this was a high-risk deal coming up here, and all the gizzard shad that we saw, and it didn't make, you know, the fish super hungry. Just a couple bites, a couple misses. So we're going to go back through, get a little bit shallower water, a little skinnier, where those fish are a little more tempting, and see if we can mark some good pods like we did on the way out, how much they've moved. And get Country Steve, you know, he wants a big old donkey walleye.
Since he's on the work release program of number 2.
Yeah, work release program.